The following is an official lore video of the Dark Diaspora Unvierse, a journey in world-building project.
The emerald green vista laid out on Joshua's view screen was even more remarkable than his most fervent hopes. He liked to think that even if he was not a devout member of one of the Diaspora's largest collective chapters, he would have still been left in awe by the gloriously alien and alluring world of Coperchia. Yet, he could not deny his bias. For Joshua was a devotee to the resonance, having found solace, comfort, and purpose in the teachings of the collective for much of the past decade. The streets of Bridgehead Station, where he grew up, did not afford the less affluent of its residents much in the way of safety and security. Food was scarce, housing non-existent, overcrowding total. And it was all the worse for gen-vet kids who were churned out in their thousands each year by autonomous embryo growth pods, a long-forgotten and little-considered species repopulation failsafe of the now-defunct United Redevelopment Authority. Most turned to crime, either petty or organized, while others fell prey to nefarious benefactors. Yet for Joshua, his years spent as a lost youth on the streets of Bridgehead Station had set him on a path that would lead him straight through the front doors of the then small chapter of the Resonance Collective. It was in that small set of rooms that Joshua found his true purpose. He took to the message of peace, kindness, pacifism, and unity in the teachings of the collective and, in particular, the leadership of the Venerable Sister Patrice. She was a natural-born member of the collective and exhibited incredible abilities to delve into the minds of others with the aid of her green crystal pendant. She was everything that the collective teaching spoke of, in her words and in her actions. And through her, Joshua saw a path to his own salvation. And so he worked, helped to build the Bridgehead Station chapter, attract new members and adherents, secure financial and in-kind support from wealthy donors, and, of course, fend off encroachments, violent or otherwise, from the Tarvan Covenant. He worked hard, listened intently, and committed wholly. Through his dedication, Joshua rose through the ranks of the chapter, riding the wave of growth of congregation that, within several years, took on several thousand new adherents. And it was through his dedication and commitment that Joshua was awarded the privilege to travel to Coperchia on pilgrimage and see that world that was the true home of his soul firsthand. And from what he could see from orbit, through the view screens aboard his passenger pod, it was indeed glorious. Traveling down to the surface, Joshua waited anxiously for his first footfall planetside. He had dreamed, literally dreamed, of this moment, of feeling his feet touching the surface of the world of his salvation. And so, moments later, as he exited the passenger pod and walked out onto the natural ground, several miles outside of the borders of the planet's capital of Caleb, he finally felt like he was home. Then, he heard it. The resonance. It was barely perceptible, as if sitting just outside the audible range for human hearing, but he could hear it, or more appropriately, feel it. A soft, ringing pressure that seemed to echo within his mind and body. He cried at the feeling, at the sensation of being enveloped by the aura of resonance. He paid little attention to the ground crew and guides as they began to usher him and the rest of the pilgrimage away from the pod and in the direction of small floating shuttles to carry them to the capital. He was too engrossed by the enormity of his presence on Coperchia, his proximity to the giant crystalline structures that dominated and defined the landscape. And then he ran. Making a break from the pilgrimage, backpack slung over his shoulder, Joshua broke free from the orderly procession to the shuttles. Evading the grasping hands of the guides and ignoring the pleas from his fellow pilgrimage members, he laughed with a joyous glee that he had never before experienced. he was finally free to escape into the wilds and undergo the arduous task for which he had spent much of the past decade thinking: the ritual of acceptance. As he ran, the passenger pod and pilgrimage site quickly fading into the background, Joshua sighed in relief at finally being alone on the world of his dreams. He walked the land, bathed in the waters, and caressed the cool, vibrating surface of the crystals. He did his best to consume everything the world had to offer him, in the hope, no, the certainty that he would soon be accepted into the residence itself. It was 2 weeks before the body was found, located by a scouting party from Kaled tasked with tracking down the devotee of the Bridgehead Station Chapter. When found, the body was cold to the touch, dead for several days. The body was curled up on the ground in the fetal position, sticky, coagulated streams of blood staining his ears, eyes, and nose. The body was quickly collected and taken for a solemn burial in the Field of Martyrs before being laid to rest. There, a small headstone carved from the green crystal of the world was placed at the head of the freshly covered grave. There was no name, no inscription, just the symbol of a green crystal flower on a white field that was the emblem of the Resonance Collective. Was exactly how Joshua would have wanted it.